their stage in life. Now, I'm going to tell you here, and I'm not going to call any names, but we had a lady here, and it wasn't very long after I got here, who came down terminally ill and wanted desperately to obey the gospel, but their physicians forbid her to be baptized. And that woman went to her grave wanting to be a Christian and couldn't. So that's why you don't need to wait to the very last. A lot of people have the frame of mind, oh, I can live my life and do what I want to, live like I want to live, and then at the end, I'll obey the gospel, or I'll repent, and then I'll be safe, and I've had my life, I've had my cake and eat it too. That's their thinking. I don't think that works, by the way.
In that lady's case, I think I would have had to obey God rather than man.
I would
At
have
that
too.
stage of my
And you
life.
know, and I told the lady, I said, I stand ready. I said, we'll do it some way or the other. But someone would have had to, because she was bedbound, and you get to the water, we'll do it. I don't care. We don't care what the doctors say. You get to the water, we'll do it. It never happened. You know. And one of the family, this is the saddest part to me. One of the family members brought in a denominational preacher who prayed her into heaven, as he called it. And of course, we know that didn't work either.
That's very sad to see.
Yeah, it really is. I've had that lady on my mind many, many times, and I felt absolutely helpless. There was nothing I could do for her. You know, nothing anybody could do for her. So sad. Anyway, that's why you don't need to wait to the end of your life to decide, because number one, you don't know when the end of the life is going to be. You know, you need to go ahead and take care of it. Thankfully enough, Emil did. He did. He was 88 years old. He died about 6 months after he was baptized, and it worked for him. And all but that one person, I guess, well, I guess it was more than one, but showed rejoicing over the fact that he did. But that one person did not accept what he had done. And that's sad. All right. Let's see. What else in this list do we look at ourselves?
Pure.
Pure?
Yeah, that's one of them.
Yeah. What is pure?
Unblemished.
Okay. Who in here could do that? That's sort of like, you know, when Jesus was confronting the woman who had committed adultery, and they were all wanting to stone her. That's basically what he said. Okay, all you pure people, if you're pure, throw that first rock.
That's right.
And no one can live up to that, can they?
Don't throw stones if you live in a glass
Well, if you're
house.
honest about
Well,
it,
but
if you're honest about it,
yeah, no one can live up to that level. But it is a quality that we try to put into ourselves, right? It is a Christian quality that we need.
we strive
Well, that's probably true of any of these things. We're not going to reach 100% in any of these things, but we strive for it.
Well, this is talking about things to meditate on. So you look for things that are pure and holy and things like that.
Well, you look for those
Fill your
things.
mind with.
You look for those things for one reason, and that is to put it within yourself. That's the whole purpose of that. And you know, I don't know what the Greek word is for the word meditate. It may be something similar, like do it or whatever. But I think one of the things that Paul is trying to get across to us is that if we put these things into our minds, we will have these things in our lives. And as long as our minds is focused on these things, it won't be focused on something else. Because if you put purity, things of good report, things that are lovely, things that are noble, things that are true, if things that are praiseworthy, if you put these things in your mind is going to be concentrating on these qualities. They're not going to be concentrating on worldliness. They're not going to be concentrating on pleasures. They're not going to be concentrating on worldliness, because it's already busy. And you know, you've heard the phrase idle hands make a good enemy.
Mhm.
Well, hey, that works for more than just hands. That works here as well. If your mind is thinking good thoughts, you can't think bad thoughts at the same time. Can't do that. So that's why Paul's telling us, meditate on these things, because if you meditate on these things, it's going to put this within you, and these are the things that you are going to have on your mind. And as a result, these are the things that you're going to have altogether. So I think that's important. Comments on number 4? All right, number 5. What do bad people fill their lives with? Worldliness, okay. You know, I don't really like the way that question is asked. I mean, and here's why. How many in here are bad? We have any bad people in here?
If you're
What did you say, Jack?
Are you sure?
No, I said.
She says, let me look around.
Let me look around. Oh, okay.
Because of bad children.
That's true, that's true.
But remember, in the 80s, you know, Michael Jackson, you know, had bad, and that was implied as good. When,
Yeah.
you know, young people will say, "Oh, that's bad.
Yeah.
That's good."
Well, and
so,
that was a 70s phrase. If you were
no,
good,
80s,
you were bad.
80s.
Well, we did it in the 70s too.
Oh.
Well, Alabama we did.
Yeah.
If you were bad, you were good. Now that didn't necessarily mean that you were good. If you were bad, it means you were good the bad way, I guess. I don't know what they were trying to say. But yeah, what
You
do
were cool.
bad people fill
Cool.
their lives with?
Cool.
Cool, yeah. Yeah, we did cool too.
Well, the scripture lists, let's see, 4:3.
1 Peter 4:3.
Lasciviousness, lust, excess of wine, revelings, bickering, abominable idolatries.
Yeah.
So,
Which are all bad, right?
those are bad things.
Yeah.
The pleasures of the flesh.
Pleasures of the flesh, yeah. You know, in this whole study, our first lesson was the works of the flesh before we got into the fruits of the Spirit. And all of these things are mentioned, of course, in the works of the flesh. This is just Peter's way of putting it out. It says, we have spent enough of our past lifetime doing the will of the Gentiles. And he's using the Gentiles as an example here because they were a ruthless people. They were an immoral people. And these things that he's listing here, lewdness, lust, drunkenness, revelries, drinking parties, abominable idolatries, all of those was everyday living for them. They never gave a thought to it. It was just their way of life. And you will be surprised at the people that would be shocked if you scolded them for any one of these things. Because it's everyday living to them. If you don't believe that, watch television. Watch just your average everyday drama on TV. You will see every one of these things in excess every day. I have seen things, saw something last night I couldn't believe they even put on TV because it was so horrible. By the way, parents, grandparents, don't let your kids watch Saturday Night Live. We was flipping and saw a Saturday Night Live clip. We was waiting for the news to come on. We wanted to hear the weather. In the last 5 minutes of Saturday Night Live, it was absolutely 100% pure filth. Please don't let your kids watch Saturday Night Live.
In his first 5 years, it was.
In the first 5 years, it was questionable. Now, there's no doubt about it. I mean, they just didn't use the exact terms for what they were describing and what they were acting out. It was horrible. But that's what we deal with today. And it's, to them people who put that on, that's everyday stuff to them. It is stuff they live with, and they like it, you know.
Well, it makes them money.
And well, that's it, exactly. That,
Raises their ratings. They glory over it.
yeah.
Well, just this month, just this past week, the National Hockey League had a Pride
Yeah.
Day for night for all of their teams, and the NBA I think did it last month or so. And I imagine if they had like a faith,
Yeah,
well, they wouldn't even think about having a
they wouldn't
faith
even let
night.
that on the air, yeah.
Yeah, and they will just celebrate it like it I mean
And
it's,
right, they escalate the immorality of the world. And if someone of faith tried to put something on the air to counter that, it would not be allowed.
look at Tim Tebow.
Yeah,
You know how he was ridiculed just because he professed his faith or so, and he still gets laughed at
Oh,
because
yeah.
of that. Or he's I think they have him on there just as a joke. They say, "Oh yeah, look at him. He's religious or so." Or,
well, ESPN did something last year during football season. And I can't remember what two teams it was, but they were interviewing one of the players after the ball game, and this team had won the ball game. And they was asking one of the players who had had a great deal to do with them winning that game, how does he think he contributed to the game? I don't know what the question was. First thing that he said was, first of all, I want to thank my God. Now, they bleeped that out.
yeah.
And you know that's what he said because you could read the lips.
Mm-hmm.
Because the camera was right on him, and he said, first of all, I want to thank my God.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Then they turned the sound back on and let him talk, and talk what he had to say. We're going to see more and more of that, folks. Now, this was ESPN. This was the big dog in television sports. And that's as far as I know, that's the first time they've taken that step. It's going to happen again.
Look at, I don't know which network it is and all, but one of them got that guy RuPaul
Yeah.
with his game show thing.
Oh gosh.
And all those people are queers, every one of them.
The advertisement alone is horrible.
Yeah,
Oh.
that's yeah. They show all sitcoms on.
Yeah, and the thing about it, every couple is queer.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's all it is.
And the sad thing is, they run those
Cross-dressing
ads.
came out.
They run those ads on prime time where your kids see that,
Yeah.
and they run it on. They even run it on what they call their family channels for
Yeah.
people to watch. It's,
Even
it's,
Cartoon Network, after a certain hour, it's like 9 or 10 o'clock,
Yeah.
turns to Adult Swim,
right,
and it's filthy.
right. But that's what we have to deal with, and that's why you got to be really careful with your kids, because they're going to hear it. You ain't gonna get it away from them. They're going to hear it at school. They're going to hear it out. They're going to hear it everywhere. But we got to do what we can to keep them from it as best we can, anyway.
It's something else too that they always make fun of Jesus. I was watching a new sitcom on NBC. It's a reboot of a popular show back in the '80s, and of course they made a joke about Jesus, but you think they'll make a joke about Mohammed? It's funny. If you say anything negative about Mohammed or joke, oh, that's sacrilege. But Jesus, I mean, just
Well, of course,
do anything.
in America, Muhammad does not have the influence that Jesus has. Jesus' influence is worldwide. Muhammad's influence is not yet worldwide.
Right.
It is over the Middle East, of course, and other areas. But now, if you did it over there, you're going to get some flack about it. But you're right. They go after Christ because he is totally his lifestyle, what his teachings were. Christian teachings is 100% against all of this,
Right.
and that's why they go after it.
And they make him a joke.
And Muhammad, and I've read some of the writings. It's good moral,
Right.
but the lifestyle of a lot of his followers are not.
Right.
And it doesn't. Where the Christian followers are supposed to have Christ-like in their life, and a lot of them, of course, don't.
Right.
But
Right in
then
this
a lot
verse.
of them do, But it's an easier target, I guess. Maybe that's it. I don't know.
Yeah. And but it's funny. you do make any jokes about Jesus, but, you know, with Muhammad, you know, if you even think of something negative, I mean,
Well,
in
and
this
that's
country.
true. And for some reason, and I haven't figured this out yet why, there is a lot more respect for the Muhammad name than there is for Jesus
Is that something?
in society.
Well, they're saying that, what was it, I told you not too long ago, in 2040 or something like that, there would be more, Muslims in the United States than there are Jewish or Christians.
I believe that because it's a growing religion. I believe that, yeah,
That's,
yeah.
I guess it's both Sunni and Shiite.
And that's the problem. There's more, they've split themselves up into groups. Which is it the evil group? Is it the Sunnites or the Shiites?
You know, I think.
There's one is
Yeah.
one is much more even tempered than the other one.
Yeah, like countries like Turkey, they're one, whereas, you know, Iran, they're
Right.
the other, and I can't think.
I
of the
don't know
distinction
which
right
one it
now.
is. There's one group that would rather kill you than look at you,
Right.
and the other group is more even tempered. But even at best, they are to me, they are more of an aggressive religion.
Militant.
Yeah, they're more of a militant religion, you know, so they're very, very difficult to deal with.
Well, that's the ones that's taking over those countries over there
Right.
and telling the women, you can't do this, you can't do that, you got to close your face up and the whole nine yards.
Especially in Africa, you know, that's a major problem in northern and central Africa
Okay.
too, and you know, those poor people over there are just, you know.
Well, those people over there are just looking for something, and they happen to be the ones that they see
Mhm.
and accept. Yeah. Sad, really is. All right. In view of questions 4 and 5, which are you, good or bad?
Good.
Man, don't you just love this guy's questions?
But
Just matter of factly.
but if we're bad in the good sense,
Well, you know,
you know, he needed to re-qualify
yeah,
this.
that's
You know, because you know, sometimes you
it
know,
has been
slang
said that all
changes.
good people do bad things, and all bad people do good things. Did you know that Al Capone was one of the greatest child charity men there was?
Oh yeah, Alphonse Capone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was a very charitable man.
Soup kitchens, you know, in
Yeah.
Chicago, and his business card said he sold furniture.
Really?
Yep.
Okay, I didn't know that. You don't
And
remember.
you know, when he was first arrested, they sent him up to Atlanta at the pen,
Oh,
at the
something.
penitentiary up in Atlanta.
At the federal opinion, yeah.
Didn't know
Yeah,
that.
in Atlanta, yeah.
Okay.
I always thought those furniture stores were fronts anyway.
Yeah, well, probably so. They would probably, yeah, all probability.
It all started with Al Capone, didn't it?
That's
I put my answer to this question, answer this one to yourself. I'm not going to go into all that. Yeah, it's something we have to ask ourselves. Maybe the question should have said, which do you want to be? Because, you know, believe it or not, there's people who want to be bad, who want to be evil, who want to be difficult. They enjoy every minute of it. And it's sad that they do, but they do. All right, we've been out of time already. Number 6, how did Joseph, and this is the Old Testament Joseph, how did Joseph manifest his goodness? Genesis 39, 7 through 10. One thing, when you think about Joseph, what do you think about?
Coat of many
Coat of
colors.
many colors. Yeah, that's the first thing everybody thinks about. But he had an opportunity to be bad
Yeah.
in Genesis
He had a
chapter
good
39.
reason.
Huh?
He had a good reason to.
He had a reason to be bad because,
Because of what was done to him.
yeah. Of course, he didn't know at the time that was going to be done to him. But at the same time, well, let's just read the story. It came to pass. I'm sorry.
He told her what she needed to know.
Yeah,
You're another man's wife,
yeah,
and I'm not gonna sin against God
right.
and do what you want. I'm not gonna lie with you.
Exactly.
Well, in a
another sense, he also was good, because when his brothers came to get the grain, he could have acted out of revenge and said, no, I'm not giving you any.
Yeah, you know, he showed goodness throughout every episode that he was in, you know, when you think about it. Of course, all of this was God's plan to keep the Israelite nation alive. Y'all do know that. The granaries in Egypt was not for the Egyptians. They were for the Israelites so that they could stay alive and survive, for Moses to come and get them and take them out. Everything that happened in the Old Testament for the characters after Abraham was for the purpose of preservation of the Israelite nation. Everything. And this was one of them right here. When God did the 10 plagues on Egypt, who did he do? Whose benefit was that for? The Egyptians or the Israelites?
Israelites.
It was for the Israelites. He knew that Egypt was corrupt and he wasn't considering them at all. Everything was for Egypt. And this incident here with Joseph, the reason he was put into prison was that so he could have interpret those dreams and become the number 2 ruler in Egypt for the purpose of saving the grain so the Israelites could survive. That was the whole purpose. And they carried his bones out with them when they left Egypt so that he could be buried with his fathers. So all of that had a place. But then in this particular episode, he would not commit this sin. He was a godly man, and he would not commit this sin. And as a result, he got thrown in jail because what did she do? She turned around and lied on him.
Ratted him out.
Yeah. And of course, we know it turned out for his good, but all right. Is your dedication to God at the same level of Joseph? Okay. Of course, we would all like to say if we were facing something like this that we could walk away from that. Every one of us would say that. But as Merlene said, there were other things about Joseph, other stories about Joseph that showed this same character. He was godly, period. And that's what we've got to try to put into our lives. Sin in general, we've got to do what we can to stay away from it. Was Joseph a completely pure man? You know, you read the first part of Joseph's life as a young man. That boy, if there ever has been a brat, he was a brat.
He was perceived that way, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He was kind of upfront.
His brothers couldn't stand him because he was a brat. You know how many times you think he flung that coat around in front of them? Oh, look what my daddy gave me. You know. Yeah. So he wasn't all sweet and sugar, you know. All right. Now, here's the letter C of number 6. In walking away from sin in general, could we do that? Can we walk away from sin like Joseph did? If we want to. If we want to. Now, here, and this is a very important passage of Scripture. 1 Corinthians 10:13. No temptation has overcome you except such as common to man. In other words, we're not going to face anything any different than what Joseph faced. There may be some in this room who have faced the very same thing that Joseph faced. I don't know. But every sin that comes upon us, every sin that we have to decide yes or no for, is nothing different than anybody else has to deal with in life. Because Satan only uses 3 things: lust of the flesh, lust of the eyes, pride of life. He used all 3 of them against Eve in the Garden of Eden. He used all 3 of them against Jesus in Matthew 4. He used all 3 of them against us. And why only the 3? Because he don't need a 4th one. Those 3 work. And it's so important that we learn that he's always going to do the same things at us. And that's why Paul said, you're not going to get a temptation except that which is common to man. It's going to be the same thing he's always done. But God is faithful and will not allow you to be tempted above what you are able. In other words, he's not going to allow Satan. He has put limitations on what Satan can do to you. He is not going to allow Satan to do something to you that you cannot walk away from. That's a promise that we have from God. But with the temptation, also make a way of escape that we can bear it. There is always a way out, regardless of what you face in life. Now, you may be like Joseph. Joseph faced his temptation. He walked away from it. He got him thrown in jail. But look at what happened to Joseph in the end. God took care of him. And that's one character throughout his entire life. Even with the things that happened to him, God took care of him. Got to stop here. We will begin with number 7 in this